Our first speaker, I have the great honor to introduce. Professor Fiorenzo Omenetto is a professor of biomedical engineering, and he also heads up the laboratory for ultra-fast and non-linear optics and biophotonics here at Tufts. Like I said, his idea has been featured on a TED conference before. You can see it at TED.com. But it's bigger than that. He has been acclaimed as one of the top 50 people in technology here in 2011, human species. And his idea, which he's presenting tonight, has been called one of the top 10 ideas in technology that can change the world. So, tonight we're going to learn something about silk. And I'm not talking about neckties or soy milk. This is real silk, and it's doing things that none of us could ever have imagined. Professor Omenetto, welcome. Thank you for being here.
No pressure, I see. So I'll tell you the story about this new old material, which is silk, and it has profound implications, we think, in high technology, in material science, and eventually in global health, and it might help reforestation someday. So as you see, we make just very minimal claims about this material. The features of this material is that it's a sustainable material and it's processed in water. It's biodegradable with a clock, so you can program it to dissolve instantaneously, or you can program it to be stable for years, in fact. It's edible. You can implant it in the human body without any immune reactions, and it's technological, so it has some features that interface with microelectronics or with nanoscale interfaces. And it looks something like this. So you see here, so now you guys already know that this is silk, but this film here that I always say big deal is plastic. This is actually composed entirely by water and protein, and so it's very different from what we're used to thinking about silk. So no neckties, right? So the question is, how do you actually take this idea and you reinvent a material that is 5,000 that has been around for 5 millennia? And so you generally look, one of the most humbling experiences is to look at nature and actually take inspiration from nature. So if you look at the caterpillar, at the Bombyx mori worm, you see the worm here spinning its fiber. So the worm does it for protection, and it spins this incredibly tough material for protection, material that we know rivals technical fibers like Kevlar. So it's a cocoon that looks like this. And so what in the reverse engineering process that we're familiar with, what happens generally is that the textile industry goes in and then unwinds the cocoon and then weaves beautiful things. We are interested in the reverse engineering of this cocoon. And so we're interested in going from cocoon back to water and protein, which are contained in the silkworm gland. And so this is the liquid Kevlar, if you will. It's the starting material that silkworms use to make this extraordinarily tough substance. And so to go from cocoon back to solution of water and protein, this is one of the fundamental insights that came about 2 decades ago. If he's not present in the audience, I can say almost 25, with a colleague of mine who's a professor here that maybe many of you know, David Kaplan, that I am extremely fortunate to work with very closely on a lot of these applications. So basically, we go back to the water and protein, and then this is our building block, and then we can build a bunch of things. And so we start with this, and how do we get from that water solution to this film? Is that we use the properties of the protein. So the protein finds a way to self-assemble. So basically, the recipe to do that is you take the solution, you pour it onto like a surface here, like the surface of a DVD. You wait for the proteins that are smart to self-assemble, then the water evaporates, and then you detach this film. That is extremely clear. And I mentioned that it was technological. So what does technological mean? It means that in principle, if you actually put the film on a nanostructured surface, like the surface of the DVD, it can replicate the topography of the film. So it can store the same information that is stored on the DVD. So you can in principle encode information in films of pure protein. So we do things like this. So you take a film of protein and you write things in it that then you can read out optically, like you read out the movies that are on a DVD. And so you can read them out with a laser pointer, and if you send them through, then you can get stuff like this. Or write digital optics in Chinese if you want. So these are so then you start doing these things and you go a little you go a little crazy because then you think, well, what else can I do with it? Because I mean I can do more than that. And so you do those cards, and then you do things like reflective tapes, so that you can put silk in your sneakers to be seen at night. Or you can do more sophisticated optical things. So this is a hologram that is about this big, and so you can add three-dimensionals. By reshaping the structure of the protein, you can actually encode images like this, like you have in your credit card. You can do optical fibers, so you can go full circle and actually spin fibers that guide light. Or you can do bigger things. Well, actually, no. You can still do little things like microneedles. If you're afraid to go to the doctor and actually get stuck with a needle, then you can do these microneedle patches out of silk, and you see them here. You see here a human hair that is superimposed on the needle to give you a sense of size. Now, you can do bigger things like gears and bolts, which one day are 100% organic. You can buy them at Whole Foods. You can. And they work also in water, so it's a nice versatility that the material offers that you can work in wet environments as well. You can use that liquid Kevlar when you need something that is strong, for example, to replace peripheral veins. So these are some 4 millimeter diameter small vein replacements, or you can do bigger parts. I mean, you can replace entire bones, and remember that this is a biocompatible material. Or you can do cups. If you add gold, if you add semiconductor to the surface of these films, you can do sensors like that interface with food, or you can do electronics that are very bizarre. You see here some transistors and some electrodes that actually wrap around surfaces and conform to surfaces in unusual ways. If you're fashion forward, you can do LED tattoos like this. The market is kind of weird for these things. But there are some unique traits. I mean, so you can do a lot of things, but why would you want to do them in silk for real? Why are you doing all these things in silk? So what I said at the beginning is that silk was, there are some nice attributes. So it's biodegradable and biocompatible. So what does that mean? It means that you can implant it in the body, and there's no real need to retrieve the device that you've implanted, because it reintegrates in living tissue. So in principle, all of those device formats that you've seen before can be implanted in the body. And so suddenly, if you look at this tissue section, this kind of gruesome picture. It's a histological section. You see something here. This thing here that follows this curve is actually that reflective tape. So the idea is that much like you're seen at night when you're running, you can see, if you implant this under tissue, you can see tissue from deeper levels if you shine light on it that you ordinarily wouldn't see. And then, of course, being able to implant it in the body and having the material reintegrate in the body is not the only important thing. You can also discard these things, these silk objects in the environment, and it's water and protein, so it doesn't pollute. So a silk cup, so the silk cup that I talked about before, so this silk cup, you can use to drink a coffee. You can throw the cup away and not worry about that being present for a couple hundred years in your landfill like polystyrene does. So there is some, besides the fact that it looks really pretty, but if you come up close, but it's edible, so you can do these sensors that actually start wrapping around food, and it could be smart packaging. There could be things that tell you how the food is doing while that you can cook and eat along with the food. It's not spectacular in taste, but that's why we have barbecue sauce. And but what's remarkable is that we come full circle. So this idea that silkworm uses this as a protection, then we have also a cocoon for biological matter. So if you take that recipe that I said before, and when you wait for the protein to self-assemble, if you add things to the solution, so where these things are things like enzymes or antibodies or vaccines, then what happens is that the material in those film formats preserves the biological function of these materials. And so it makes the material active, and it makes them unusual storage vectors for these biological dopants, which means that, for example, the screw and the nut and bolt that you saw beforehand that you can buy at Whole Foods actually could contain drugs as well, and could be used to repair your bone and deliver drugs as well. Or you can put drugs in your wallet. And so we demonstrated that in that film we can store penicillin at 60 degrees C, so 140 degrees Fahrenheit for 2 months without loss of efficacy of the penicillin. And so that beats a little bit delivering refrigerated drugs with the solar power refrigerated camel, like you sometimes see in sub-Saharan Africa. And the final thing is that is unusual for a material is that the material is programmably degradable. And so there's no use in storage if you can't recuperate, and you can do these things where you actually have silt. And you, as I said, you can dip it in water and it stays stable, or you can dip it in water and you dilute it, and what you see here in the bottom row is a film that has been programmed to deliver what is stored inside it. And this is important for controlled applications of drug delivery and so forth, and certainly to reuse these things that you went through a lot of pain to store. So in conclusion, we have a thread of discovery. We actually believe we're very happy about this line of research. Certainly has kept me busy. And we really do think that whatever you want to do, if it's, whether you want to replace the vein or bone, or you want to eat or drink, sensors, and maybe throw away a coffee cup without guilt because it's not going to be a polluting cup, or put drugs in antibiotics in your pocket, or deliver drugs in the body, or deliver them across the desert, maybe the answer is in a thread of silk. Thank you.